Okay, here we go. Unit 6, Day 3, Graphing Linear Equations. Take a moment to copy down your learning objective up here in the top left-hand box. Okay. Also take a moment to copy down the vocab in the top right-hand box. Okay, a couple things I want to bring to your attention. Remember that this slope-intercept form here is y equals mx plus b. This m here is our slope. And the b there is our starting point. It's our y-intercept. And you can see over here to the right, we discussed that. The slope is the change in y over change in x. We can also express that as the rise over the run. So what we're talking about here is your up and down change over your side-to-side change. The b is just where that graph is going to cross the y-axis. Okay, take a look at our first 4 equations here. Copy these down, please. All we need to do in order to graph these lines is to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, the y-intercept is going to be this number out here. Now notice that the 3 is being subtracted. That means that our y-intercept or our b is going to be a negative 3. The slope, the number next to the x, is 2. That tells us that we have a slope of 2. Remember, this is a ratio, so it needs to be a fraction. So change that 2 into 2 over 1. That's going to tell us that from our starting point of negative 3 that we're going to go up to right 1. So let's do so. All right, so starting point of negative 3. Then we're going to go up to right 1. We can begin to generate a bunch of points. Up to right 1, up to right 1, and so forth. We can also do the pattern backwards. Down to left 1. And that generates a pattern that is the line that represents y equals 2x minus 3. Take your straight edge, draw a line that goes all the way through the points. Please make sure it goes out both ends with arrows on each side. Let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 here has y equals negative 2/5 x plus 4. Notice here that the starting point this time is positive. So we'll start on top of the origin. Okay. The slope here is negative 2/5 x. So negative 2/5 is our slope. We could write this 2 different ways as negative 2 over 5, which tells us to go down to right 5. Or we could do it as 2 over negative 5, which would tell us to go up to left 5. You're going to see here that both ways will generate points which will be in our line. Okay, so starting point of 4 is here. Our first slope told us to go down to right 5. Well, that would give us a point there. The other one, the 2 over negative 5, tells us to go up to, from the blue dot, left 5. Notice that both of those green dots will be on the same line. Take a straight edge, go all the way through it. There is the line that is y equals negative 2/5 x plus 4. Try the last 2 on your own, and then I'll come by behind you and check your answers. Make sure you turn this negative 3 into a ratio. So that's going to tell us to go down 3, right 1. So that's a negative rise, so you go down. Let's start generating some points here. Remember that instead of going down 3, right 1, you can generate the same pattern by going up 3, left 1. Students will ask, how many of these points do we actually need to generate in order to get an accurate line? I say if you can generate at least 3, you're in good shape. On this particular example, I did 4. Okay. On the last one, our starting point was 1. Slope is 2/3. So here, this slope is going to tell me to have a rise of 2 and a run of 3. So start on your y-axis where b equals 1. And go up to right 3, up to right 3. Or you can start at the blue dot and do the pattern backwards, down to left 3. That generates the line that is y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Okay? On the next 4, you're going to see that something's missing. So keep in mind that we're still looking at that slope-intercept equation, y equals mx plus b. And if you look at y equals 4x, you can tell right off the bat that the something that's missing is the b. And so therefore, as the b is missing, that its value is 0. So here we have a starting point of 0, the origin, and we're going to have a slope of 4. So make sure that 4 is expressed as a ratio. So we have a rise of 4 and a run of 1. So start at the origin, and let's begin to generate some points. Up 4, right 1, or from the origin I can go down 4, left 1, and generate that point. There we go. For the next one, y equals 4, you can see on this one there that the mx is what's missing. Well, if the mx is what's missing, then the m is equal to 0. So what we have left over here is the b. So b equals 4, and the m equals 0. All right, let's see here. That's our starting point of 4. Let's talk about what it means to have the m equal to 0. If the m is equal to 0, remember, it's not going to be a positive line, a positive slope, nor is it going to be a negative slope. It's going to be neutral. It's going to be right in between those guys. So what we're going to end up with is a horizontal line. So starting from the starting point of 4, we're going to have a horizontal line that goes through that point. Okay? Try the last two on your own. All right, number 7 here. What's missing is the m. So we have a b, which is equal to negative 2. What we don't have is the m, so the m is 0. So here's another horizontal line, starting at negative 2, just like so. All right. On the last example here, what we're missing is the b. So the b is 0. What we do have is the slope. Remember, the slope is going to be the one that's always snuggled up there next to x. So that's how you tell the difference. So here we're going to go up 1, right 2 from the origin. You can generate several points here, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Or you can start from the blue dot and do down 1, left 2. Okay. All right, Roman numeral 2. Let's go the opposite direction. Here we want to start with a graph and eventually write the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so remember, for the slope-intercept, we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. The y-intercept is usually the easiest thing to find. You're just going to look to see where this graph is going to cross the y-axis. So right here, we can go ahead and see that b is equal to 1. Then what we need to do is we need to look at some other points here that are on the line. The points that you need to choose are the ones that go through the grid, the corners of the grids perfectly. For instance, there's one here. There's another one here and here. Look at how the line goes through the corners of the grids perfectly. We could use those points. Any one of these points would do to find the slope. I'm just going to go ahead and use our blue dot and then that green one that I just chose there. And what I'll do is I'll use my rise over my run to go from blue to green. And here I'll go up 3, and then I'll go right 1. That gives me a slope of 3 over 1 or 3. So as I go back to my slope-intercept equation, I'll just fill in or sub in the values for m and b that I just found. I'll get y equals 3x plus 1. All right, next one. Here, this guy crosses the y-axis at negative 3. So we know right off the bat that our starting point is negative 3. Let's find some other points. There's one here, there's one here, here, and there. Okay? So let's say that I just chose, let's say this point. Just picking a random point. Here, if I go from the blue to the green, I go down 2, and then I run 6. That gives me a slope of negative 2/6 or negative 1/3. So as I go to my equation, y equals mx plus b, I'm going to replace those values There's that equation. There we go. All right, try the last two on your own. Pick just a random point here. Let's say I pick this one. Here I would go down 6, right 3. That means my slope is -6/3 or -2. Means my final equation will be y equals -2x plus 2. Okay. Last one. Starting point is -4. Start to generate some other points here. There's one there. There's one there. Let's say I get crazy and choose this one. That would tell me to go down 2, left 4. So that's -2 over -4. Well, that's going to reduce down to a positive 1/2. So my final equation here will be y equals 1/2 x minus 4. All right, last 4. Here we have horizontal and vertical lines. Well, remember with the horizontal lines, that means we have a neutral slope. If you remember your slope mountain, that means you can stand up on these skis. It would be like cross-country skiing. Gravity would not help you, but you would have a slope, 0. For the vertical lines, you do not have a slope. Remember, falling's not skiing. So here we do not have a slope. Therefore, we will not be able to write it in slope-intercept form. Let's do the first two together. Here you can see on number 5 that we're going to have a starting point of 3. Then you can see that the slope here is neither positive nor negative. It's neutral, which means its value is going to be 0. So as we go to write our equation, y equals mx plus b, we're going to plug those values in. Y equals 0x plus 3 is a perfectly fine answer, but since you don't have any x's, you have 0 x's, you could just leave those out altogether and just write it as y equals 3. For number 6, you'll notice right off the bat as well that there is no y-intercept, so there is no value of b. You'll also notice that the line is vertical, which means it does not have a slope. So there's absolutely no way we can write this in slope-intercept form. The way that we can write the equation, though, is to think about the line. On all these points, I'm just picking random points on this line, all those points have something in common. What they have in common is, for every single one of those points, the x value is 2. That is the equation of that line, x equals 2. So notice that the y equals are your horizontal lines, the x equals are your vertical lines. Try the last two. Here, all the points on this line will have what they'll have in common is that their x values is -1. Therefore, the equation of the line is x equals -1. For the last one, notice we do have a y-intercept. It's -4. And we do have a slope. It's neutral, which means it's going to be 0. So we could write this as y equals 0x minus 4, or just y equals -4. All right, thank you very much. Now remember, do not forget to do your take-home quiz. This will be due, the homework prep and the quiz will be due the next time I see you. Good luck. Come and see me if you have any questions.